Born to Win. Discover Unlimited Possibilities. Written by J. Steele. Narrated by Ronald Hux. Section 1. Take steps in possibility. Taking steps means taking responsibility, which translates to taking charge of your life and what you have, deciding to answer for your commitments, as well as for the consequences of the actions taken by you or someone else. In other words, it means facing the commitments and situations that arise in life with courage and attitude, committing yourself to the consequences of an action. The conscience of each being is what determines their responsibility towards life and how much they will be committed to it. Responsibility starts with aspects of self-interest and then is of interest to a community. It begins with the responsibility of a home, with the chores of work, with the needs of the family, and then takes responsibility for the conservation of the planet or the evolution of humanity. That is when it is understood that all beings are together in the same evolutionary system, and that in it, each one is at a particular stage of learning. The commitment to life changes, to the people around us, and to evolution itself. All beings live in energetic interdependence, that is, a reciprocal dependence to evolve and be happy. The system, co-created for hominal evolution, obeys an order of facts and situations that aims at the growth of all beings. Committing to life depends on how much you understand this whole process, and how much dignity and pride you choose to express. The personal behavior of envy and slander can harm a person, just as an attitude of assertiveness can be the example that is needed to make a decision. And beings always find themselves in situations where they can do something positive. In the dictionary, the word assume is defined as calling for oneself, taking for oneself. However, this is not done with all the commitments that are assumed. The truth is, you can compromise with responsibility, or you can escape it. Each being chooses to answer for the consequences of their actions or flee from them. Thus, effectively assuming a responsibility occurs when you see the real need to do something by your conscience, doing so. When a being has really decided, he does not forget this responsibility in the hustle and bustle of the day, and does not transfer it to other people, nor does he let it depend on something that does not depend on himself. In other words, it is a personal commitment that does not fail. How does one take responsibility for providing for the family, raising a child, taking a leadership role in a job, being a good father, a good husband, etc.? Each responsibility of this implies behavioral changes. So, for example, to be a good husband, change your behaviors and bad habits. Your responsibility is to provide for your wife and family physically or financially, emotionally, and mentally. Physically, it means being the financial provider of the home, supporting the family's needs, food, clothing, and maintenance of the home in general. Emotionally and mentally, it should be the point of support for your family members, bringing reason in at the right time. Affection, strength, joy, humor, etc. All of this means taking responsibility for being a good husband, a condition acquired by choice. These were examples of responsibilities towards other human beings. However, each being has responsibilities. First, towards himself, responsibility towards his life, and evolution. There are several things we can do for each other, and it is your responsibility to be happy. Taking responsibility requires discipline and honor, the transformation of addictions, and that means running after solutions and being worthy of what you are committed to doing. To have honor and dignity is to live up to the capacity that God has given us all, and act in accordance with it. To subdue that capacity for whatever reason is to be unworthy of the condition of being evolutionary. Because every man is endowed with the ability to create positive circumstances in his life, limitations are present by choice of each being. In other words, many of them exist through the creation of a being, who becomes unworthy and irresponsible for not responding to what is his responsibility, to be happy and to evolve. Taking responsibility. Why this is so important and so difficult. In the modern corporate environment, unintentional mistakes have become increasingly accepted as part of the business and have been accepted as organizational learning. This, in addition to opening more space for great innovations, experimentation, and continuous improvement, can make companies reach another level, both in terms of culture as well as results and efficiency in processes. However, due to years of mastery of a more conservative vision in which the error was unacceptable, many employees, leaders and non-leaders, still have difficulty in taking intelligent risks, and worse, they cannot take responsibility for their failures and recognize points of improvement. This resistance and fear of error has hindered the company's movement towards innovation and prevented its employees from developing and growing in their careers. From there, people start to do something called outsourcing the blame, and instead of taking responsibility for their failures, seeking to learn from them, they start looking for someone to blame for the error, and this is where an organizational culture can start to fall apart. Especially when this attitude comes from someone in a leadership position, the damage can be huge. After all, it only works well when those who make decisions set the pace of the music and also assume a considerable share of responsibilities for specific actions. It is the role of the leadership to know the way, and to achieve this, two things are fundamental: having self-knowledge to realize where you went wrong, and high maturity to know how to admit. And why is it that so many people have this enormous difficulty in taking responsibility and admitting their mistake? Can this be changed? And what benefits does this change bring? Why do people find it so difficult to take responsibility for their mistakes? Whether in a company or everyday life, mistakes are usually not seen as good or acceptable. Often, even if you learn and grow from them, mistakes are a source of shame, and there is a common sense that sometimes it is better to hide them than to assume them. And when it comes to the corporate context, which has the career, remuneration, and credibility factors at stake, people are even more resistant to dealing with their failures and making them public. This happens for several reasons, all extremely linked to the negative conception of error, and we can highlight three of the main ones. 1. Fear of judgment. When a person takes responsibility for his mistakes and shows the world his faults, he is automatically exposing himself and letting his vulnerabilities and weaknesses surface, and most people want to avoid this at all costs. We live in an extremely competitive context, where everyone wants to look stronger and better all the time. That is why assuming an error is so difficult. Nobody wants to be exposed to the judgments of others, or risk damaging their image and credibility. However, we must understand that today, the error is no longer just negative. It is part of the human growth and development process, and we need to be better people. 2. Organizational culture, or lack thereof. Although this is changing, in very traditional and conservative companies, the error was not always seen as part of the process, and in most cases, there was no room for it. Therefore, people are not used to dealing with their failures and fail to see their mistakes as part of their growth. They avoid dealing with this topic and are always looking for ways to hide the dirt under the rug. The company should propose a mindset change, and that there are dialogue and encouragement for intelligent errors. 3. Ego. Some people simply think that they are above failure. For them, their work is above average, that the mistake is always from others. After all, there is nothing else in their function that is yet to be perfect, and that needs to be developed. These people are unable to take responsibility in the face of significant failures and problems, simply because their ego is too inflated. This impedes your long-term development and can end up ruining your career. As good as a job is, it can always be improved, and start to see and assume mistakes as the first step towards developing a bright future. Why is it important to take responsibility and grow your courage again? As we mentioned, mistakes are part of the journey of any human being, and far from being just a negative thing, linked to a person's faults and problems, they are an excellent opportunity for personal development and growth. In the organizational context, accepting unintentional errors as part of the business can accelerate innovation movements. This will lead to new and efficient processes and structures. All of this, over time, can be the difference between a successful company and a stagnant one, which was too focused only on not failing. Therefore, people within a business, especially leaders, must be prepared to take responsibility and pass this feeling on to the entire team. You can never go to leadership alone. Unfortunately, many leaders allow their hidden egos and agendas to get in the way, rather than doing what is best for the people and organizations they serve. Leaders are not responsible for always being right. However, they are responsible for seeing that problems become opportunities. Being the most effective leader requires us to take responsibility for dissecting both the why and the how during moments of success and failure. 4 key benefits of taking responsibility. 1. You earn respect. People do not expect perfection, but transparency, honesty, and fairness. When you take responsibility for your actions, instead of trying to outsource guilt, you show that you care about it all and that you can be trusted. 2. Vulnerability strengthens the team. When leaders admit mistakes, they bring out the points of their work or process where there are still flaws, and in doing so, create a remarkable sense of responsibility that can be shared among the team. Therefore, people tend to come together and support each other in the search for improvements and positive results. 3. Leadership comes from examples. When a leader is not afraid to say that he has made a mistake and takes responsibility for his actions, it shows that everyone else also has the space to do so, increasing employee involvement. Thus, the team is less afraid to evolve, and to bring things that can take the organization to a higher level. 4. Building trust. When the above points are accomplished, the corporate culture starts to raise the confidence of employees, bringing a greater sense of entrepreneurship and smarter and more courageous decision-making. How to avoid the outsourcing of responsibility. It is part of the role of the leader to understand the degree of maturity he has in the actions of the team and the company. If you don't understand, there is already the first problem. This attitude needs to start from the top of the organizational pyramid. If the CEO or a large part of the board does not admit his mistakes and is always pointing the finger at another person, then this culture becomes part of the company's routine, becoming a negative pattern for moments of taking responsibility. For this to happen, leadership needs to have an exceptional level of maturity, and that only comes with self-knowledge and the will to understand. If not, some type of external work can be useful, since this profile demonstrates that there is a generalized or individualized blindness in the leaders and the degree of armor can be high. I always like to mention that when the last time exercise, and there's one more in this section, of course. As you read, start reflecting and then writing about when was the last time I was directly responsible for making a decision. Did I fail and admit my mistake? It may even be in everyday life. Small things from home, from the office routine. Then think about bigger, strategic, and situations. Ask yourself the following questions. Did I learn anything from it? Or did I just turn my back? Did I blame anyone? Have I taken responsibility publicly? Did I ask people for feedback on this error? Did I fulfill my role as a leader, or was I blind? When you are in higher positions in the hierarchical chain, it becomes comfortable to drop that responsibility. It's convenient, quick, and easy, right? But if the leadership wants to take the organization to another level, it is better to start taking the maturity seriously, to take on its actions, and be the expected mirror of the company itself. It must understand its role, and, mainly, leave the ego at home. You represent something greater than your vanity. Starting to assume your mistakes and feel responsible for your mistakes and wrong decisions may seem complicated, but it will help you reach another level in your career and personal development. Don't be afraid to take responsibility and start to understand that the most important thing is not the error, but what you can learn from it. If your company is already more open to experimentation and willing to take smart risks, don't be afraid to look for it and understand that failures are part of your evolution. And if your company still doesn't encourage this type of behavior, try to understand why it happens, then try to help promote a collective mindset change. This is going to be essential to the success of the business. Mechanisms created by man that hinder responsibility. Fear. Fear is energy contrary to evolution. It paralyzes the being, which is stagnant without producing anything. And with that, it ends up developing other behavioral vacillations, such as backbiting, envy, evil, etc. Often, it is fear that prevents the person from saying, "I hold this situation in my chest. I will achieve such a thing," through thoughts such as, "But what if I fail?" Therefore, fear must be combated with the self-knowledge of personal abilities, with the valorization of the best way and tools to evolve, as well as the courage to take on new challenges. Tool. Courage. Disorganization. It is the neglect that one has for life, making one to survive and not live it. Without an established order, it is not possible to assume simple responsibilities, such as washing dishes, keeping documents in the right folder, organizing the priorities of the day, small things that make it difficult for a greater responsibility that requires an already established organization. This organization is integral, physically, where the physical system, house, clothing, car, work, environment, must follow an order, emotionally and mentally. When one knows the activities of the day, the priorities, when one knows how to decode and organize the sensations, emotions experienced throughout the day. Tool. Physical, emotional, and mental order. Lack of assertiveness. The lack of assertiveness is the lack of focus on life, lack of prioritization. For example, the being who wants to do everything and in the end does nothing, or who cannot say no to anyone and cannot fulfill anything he has said. Thus he ends up becoming a complete, irresponsible good guy. The lack of assertiveness turns life into a run to put out the fire, where nothing is accomplished, nothing accomplished. Therefore, to be committed to achieving assertiveness, one must establish priorities and complete each one of them. Tool. Assertiveness. Conclusion. Equals maturity. Laziness. To assume responsibility, it is necessary to leave the doldrums, the comfort zone. Often we must know what needs to be done, the reason for doing it, and how to do it. But this movement ends up not leaving the field of intention. The doldrums and the soft body are so pleasurable that the being does not want to leave this situation. However, to assume responsibility, one must abandon such accommodation through dynamism, action, availability to people until entering a more productive pace of life again. Tool. Action. Failure in education. Many people, usually overprotected in childhood, grew up without responsibilities, without dealing with this experience. When adults do not know how to handle responsibilities of taking care of the house, paying bills, taking care of children, in short, doing things that they should have done naturally before anyone or someone tells them to. This failure in education does not justify this behavior as adults because, by conscience, one can conclude the correct thing to be done and get out of this adult infantilism. Tool. Commitment. Escape. Commitment often leads people to do unpleasant things, forcing them to get out of tranquility, out of doldrums, making them compromise, which can sometimes be understood as appending a commitment of their own. Freedom. This is very common, so as not to assume responsibility when you think that taking responsibility for something is a burden, something that hinders the programming of what you would like to do. For example, don't take responsibility for a relationship because you don't want to lose your freedom. This makes a person lose his freedom effectively by becoming more and more entangled in the confusion of passion, instinct, adrenaline lies. Escaping creates defense mechanisms and self-deception, like not wanting to see the need to come out of responsibilities. Tool. Fight. Neglect. Negligence exists when one does not want to do what is already being done. In other words, the person is already aware of the attitude he must take, but for some reason he does not. which characterizes a bad character formation. Whenever one chooses not to act in good, one acts in evil. When the being is not being productive, he expresses some incorrect behavior, and thus builds his character. So an irresponsible being, for any of these reasons mentioned, feeds and expresses behaviors that do not form a good character, but the opposite. Therefore, due to the lack of assuming responsibility, bad characteristics can develop. Another example of neglect is the blind eye of parents in the face of some incorrect behavior presented by a child. Tool: observation around, altruism, the importance of taking responsibility and growing your courage again. Life's responsibilities grow as our ability to deal with them grows. To assume responsibility is to assume the duty of the action that the conscience indicates, and this duty can present itself in the most diverse forms or situations. However, the conscience will always show the way. Responsibilities are mechanisms of learning, discipline, assertiveness, and training for a moral posture. As responsibilities are assumed, life maturity and satisfaction and fulfillment are acquired, and new commitments will appear. That is the life of those who are willing to evolve, opting for their happiness. Maturity means that we have achieved complete knowledge of who we are and what we have to do in life, and thus not expecting someone to do for us what is our obligation. Thus man develops and increases his ability to solve problems, create solutions, and his responsibilities are increasingly greater, as well as his satisfaction and fulfillment in life. Their self-motivation is their achievements and the calm and light conscience of those who have fulfilled their obligation. Practicing responsibility. The best way to exercise taking responsibility is to start from the practical example of life itself, meaning that we know what our responsibilities are, or, if we don't know, just an observation in our life. For life presents the responsibilities that must be taken, and our conscience the need to commit ourselves to them. To conclude and act responsibly, you can create a plan for what should be done and do it. Simple. Examples: responsibility, fixing a mistake made at work, barrier found, pride, show incompetence, humility, solution, more attention, responsibility, educating a child in the wrong behavior, barrier found, fault recognition, solution, education of this being is more important, responsibility, paying a bill, barrier found, lack of money, work with humility, solution, renegotiation. Taking responsibility balances self-esteem, self-confidence, life becomes lighter, and the person becomes more honest with others and with themselves. It is important to assume the responsibilities to be faithful to our essence, using our self-endowed capacities. Section 2. Develop unlimited mindset. In life, we get to decide our path at some point in time. This means choosing between being endowed with a mindset that favors abundance or a mindset that favors scarcity. This is a binary choice. The option for one mental model automatically excludes the other. Naturally, our thoughts can change in the face of situations that arise along our path, so we need to develop the ability to manage them well, and we have the power to do that. Now, understand that abundance here is not simply related to what we have, but to everything that we actually enjoy or can still enjoy, in all spheres of life. The subject who opts for the scarcity-driven mentality languishes, envious of the abundance of the other. He is a person focused only on difficulties, someone who only thinks about problems. The key to abundance is to face limited circumstances with unlimited thoughts. Marianne Williamson, American writer. To concentrate on abundance is to direct thinking. The worry about the lack of money leaves the scene and the ability to perceive new and favorable conjunctures, which are always formed, no matter the context, provided you fight for them. To focus on abundance instead of scarcity is to know how to see the paths that lead to a better life, with greater financial stability and tranquility. It's also the ability to create opportunities for success, or to take advantage of those that arise in spite of themselves. It is to pursue and achieve prosperity. To concentrate on abundance is to direct thinking. The worry about the lack of money leaves the scene and the ability to perceive new and favorable conjunctures, which are always formed, no matter the context, provided you fight for them. It is that old story. While some cry because of the crisis, others take advantage of the gap to sell handkerchiefs. People who have succumbed to the scarcity mentality take things too seriously. For them, any little problem becomes a big problem. They worry, exaggeratedly, even sickly, with failure. In the case of a candidate for a vacancy in the public service, with any disapproval, even the inevitable ones from the beginning of the preparation process, they suffer unhealthily from what others may think of them and feel as if they are being watched all the time, with every step they take and with every attitude they take. Besides, they live in worry, as if the world is going to end the next day. They are such negativity that they chase away friends and make it difficult for anyone who wants to help to approach, who are willing to join efforts. They see opportunities that arise as obstacles. When you are with an abundance mentality, you are aware that there are wealth and opportunities for everyone. They are calm because they understand that when someone is willing to achieve something, he neither wants nor will harm anyone. A candidate with this type of mentality understands that he does not need to take another's place. It is just a matter of enjoying your place in the sun on a beach where there is space for everyone on the sand. This warrior is aware that there is competition, that there are other talents on the market. The difference is that this realization does not discourage you. On the contrary, it makes him conclude that he needs to be more aggressive in the dispute for his place. You have already realized that the time will come to enjoy your home, family, friends, work, and everything else to conquer. That moment just isn't now. On the other hand, the scarcity mindset leads the individual to believe that there is no availability of wealth and opportunities for everyone. For anyone who has been dominated by this mental model, it will always be a win-lose game. If I achieve something, it is because I took it from someone, he thinks. Dear reader, believe me, this is not true. We need to eliminate limiting beliefs like this once and for all. We urgently need to replace them with others that are more empowering, more optimistic, and more abundant. Do you want to see a simple example of a person who attracts scarcity, even if unconsciously? A salesperson is afraid that his sales are bad, even without having a rationale for it. In fact, market information signals exactly the opposite, that transactions tend to increase. Blinded by fear, he reduces his stock until, at some point, customers want to buy, but there is no product available. Now, it is evident that, in this context, sales will be bad, but not because of the lack of demand, but because of the salesman's lack of daring, the only culprit for the scarcity he attracted to himself. This type of situation does not only occur in business. Who doesn't know someone who seems to have the pattern of only getting involved in bad relationships, for example? The ungrateful usually gives more value to what he does not have than to what he has already achieved, and spends most of his time thinking about what he does not have, although he already has a lot to be thankful for. In addition to fear, another factor that attracts scarcity is ingratitude. The ungrateful usually gives more value to what he doesn't have than to what he has already achieved, and spends most of his time thinking about what he doesn't have, although he already has a lot to be thankful for. The feeling that characterizes him is that more and more is missing, which generates unhappiness and dissatisfaction, and does not materialize anything but bad feelings. Men and women endowed with the mindset of abundance, in turn, are aware that it is necessary to produce energy that is more expansive, aggregating, and capable of attracting good things, even though these things are not always exactly as they had idealized. What matters is that they know how to appreciate, body and soul, if only for a few moments, every small daily achievement. Their great differential is the gratitude they know how to show for what they have achieved, without allowing themselves to be accommodated. The truth is that, when we finally understand that life should be lived in abundance, not in scarcity, we start to attract people, among friends, teachers, and mentors, who share this vision and can help us move in the right direction. The game becomes win-win, and even in the most complicated situations, we find a good way out more easily. With the mentality of abundance, You will develop a spirit of organization, order, discipline, and gratitude, and we already know that these attributes are necessary for those who want to become public servants, right? By keeping to the frequency that favors abundance, you will pick up the identical vibration emitted by other people and stay tuned to them. The result will be the empowerment of the power to conquer. The truth is, when we finally understand that life should be lived in abundance, not scarcity, we start to attract people, among friends, teachers, and mentors, who share this vision and can help us to move in the right direction. The game becomes win-win, and even in the most complicated situations, we find a good way out more easily. Whoever has a prosperity mentality approaches people for what they are, attracted by their values, by their principles, by their character. He understands that good people can, and will, add some value to his life. You feel good anywhere, at any event, at any time, because you know who you are and what your true value is. He is not concerned with wealth icons, with branded watches, and with superfluous goods. It pursues wealth not as an end in itself, but as a means of doing more for more people. Searches for more practical and applicable knowledge daily. So, dear reader, are we going to choose the path paved by the mindset of abundance, prosperity, conquests, and victories, or are we going to enter the path of scarcity, a life of restrictions, fear, and mental and spiritual poverty? I can already imagine what your answer will be, but remember that you need to root your beliefs in the reasons that drive your decision. That done, you will be able to see what needs to be in your focus. So focus on what is good, abundance, not lack. Start right now. Everything you need to know to develop a successful mindset. Success is something that happens within you. It is your daily habits to improve productivity, your morning routines, what you dedicate your time to. It is not these tips and tricks that others are trying to sell you, but it is your way of seeing the world and adopting a successful mind. Do not give up. There is still hope. Here are 10 habits that will help you have an abundance and successful mindset. 1. Start accepting the changes. Change is the only constant you can trust in your life. When all else fails, you can bet the change will be lurking around the corner. With that in mind, wouldn't it be smart to crush your fear of change finally? Successful people can adapt and manage change. They can adapt. If an idea fails, and it will happen several times, the successful mind can deal with it and adapt to the changes presented by the situation. But how do you accept the change? The way you should do it, moving on, knowing that it's there, happening all the time. Don't let it catch you off guard. Plan for it, embrace change, and use it to your advantage. Are you prepared to deal with the changes? 2. Start setting goals. Not just objectives, but achievable goals. Do you know when you draw up a checklist, you mark each small individual task? Think about how motivated and able you feel to get the next job done. That's a beautiful feeling. Then, look for that completed list at the end of the day to find out that you have achieved all the goals you wanted to accomplish. Make your goals as big as you can meet them. Reach your goals daily. 3. Start committing to things. Get rid of the fear of commitment. A successful mindset of someone who wants to be successful needs to be committed to ideas and things you set your mind to. A new exercise regime, a new job, a new income goal, a new partner, a new habit, whatever. You need to commit. If you can't compromise when things are going well, you will abandon the ship and run when something goes wrong. And it won't help you understand how to be successful at work or in life. There is no easy way to do this. 4. Start to identify your purpose. Purpose, in essence, is the right path to success. With your purpose in mind, as well as a plan of achievable goals, all that hard work seems much more attractive to be overcome. So how do you find your purpose? Answer these simple questions and open your mind to success. Who are you? What do you want from life? What is it that you have that can benefit other people? How are you going to get there? What does success mean to me? 5. Start believing in yourself and your goals. This is timeless advice. You've heard it countless times, but you need to believe it this time. You have to believe in yourself and cultivate an abundance mindset to be successful in life. Believe in yourself because you know what you are dedicating to your work. Believe in yourself because you know that as long as you are breathing, you will continue to work on your purposes. Believe in yourself because you know that you will overcome the next obstacle that appears to you. Always repeat phrases of business success. With that level of self-confidence, you just have to continue until you get where you want to go. Believe in yourself and your ability to achieve your goals. 6. Start cultivating patience. Some things take time. So, no matter what you want to achieve, knowing how to wait will be a part of it. A new product does not start with thousands of sales. It takes a little work. Success takes time. You just have to continue to take all the steps you can towards it. 7. Start identifying your weaknesses. No successful mind is successful without realizing where it is falling apart. It is when we can only identify the disability that we can portray our potential. Many people have their self-criticism. However, it is difficult to see what needs to be improved. The hardest part is practicing. Knowing that you are lazy and doing something about it is very different. To be successful, you have to identify which laziness consumes you. And, after that, you need to adopt a proactive solution to that. Just know that you are lazy, and don't rest while everything is done. The most difficult part of this may be compassion for yourself, but a successful mindset must overcome it. You are not going to do things right before the first attempt. Okay, you will still have time to make things work. Unless you are doing something about your weaknesses, you will probably be ahead of the majority. 8. Begin to identify the increase in your number of failures. Do you know what all successful people have in common? They failed. 27 publishers rejected Dr. Seuss. Stephen King threw his career launch manuscript in the trash, although thankfully his wife took it back. Walt Disney heard that he had no imagination. Did they give up? The successful mind never gives up. Well, Stephen King gave up for a moment, but the point is that he failed and didn't give up. Instead, today, they are all names known to many people. These failures only spurred them on to become incredibly successful people. So, see your failure, learn from it, grow with it, and come back better. All successful people have failed at any time. 9. Start practicing emotional creativity. Emotional creativity is a key recipe for success. Showing empathy and care will go a long way in paving the way for you. Being able to relate, to put yourself in the other's shoes, is what makes you a successful human being. To be able to serve people what they want, which is the key to many successful companies and careers, you have to relate to your situation. If you lack emotional creativity and empathize with your situation, you will not connect well with them. If you are on your quest for success, and you have to step over some people to do this, how are you going to do this and be human at the same time? Are you willing to step over people to get where you want to go? Can you live with this decision? You will only know with empathy. Most successful people are friendly. They are nice because you can relate to them. You can relate to them because they are creative enough emotionally to relate to you. Empathy makes you a better human being in general. Putting yourself in the situation of others will put you in better situations when dealing with people. Emotional intelligence even helps you manage teams. 10. Start meditating. The madness of success comes with the desperate need for peace. As a successful person, you will probably have to make stressful decisions every day. If you cannot manage your stress, it will dominate you. Fortunately, meditation is here to make you successful. With empirically proven health benefits, it will help to reduce the stress and anxiety of being successful. Set out a few minutes of your day and relax. Hit the pause button so that the successful mindset will settle in you. Are you ready to take on an abundance mindset? Abundance and success will not come easy. You have to find your way. You are the one who will find success while trying to find a way out. But it will not come to you. You have to be ready for success, cultivating a successful mind. And when it happens, you will be prepared to handle everything that will happen throughout your day and throughout your routine. Section 3. Start over and tap the power of new ideas. It's time to write a new story, erase an unwanted past, and build a new future based on happiness. Start your life over and make no effort to make everything better than it was before. Start your life over, write a new story, do everything differently, do everything you ever wanted to do. In life, you need to know the right time to start over. When your life comes to a standstill, when you realize that nothing else is moving forward, when sadness comes, when being happy becomes an almost impossible challenge, know that these are signs that you need to start from scratch. It's time to do everything differently, to try again, and to build your new world. You should not be afraid to start over and restart your life differently. It may sound crazy, but it's great when we wake up one day with the desire to change everything in our life. Life always asks us that, and it is up to us to make that radical decision. Don't be afraid if it happens to you. Change must happen at least once in your life. Life always needs to be renewed, and the fact that there are still people who don't like to make changes in life amazes me. How can you always live in the same routine, always with the same disappointments? Do they not think that life can be better if it changes? Life always needs renewal to get better. So change your habits, customs, people, and dreams. All of this is fundamental. Do not hesitate to want to change your life. All you have to do is eliminate the dirty past and leave your heavy past behind. Erase those memories that only cause you pain. Try to find happiness in the simplest things and try to start a new story. Life cannot fall into the routine because you would not want to live the same thing over and over again. It is always good to be innovating the way you live. Do not be afraid to dare, take a chance, and make a new story for yourself. Be more your present and less your past. The problem with people is that they are too attached to the past. Memories have an enormous power to arrest people and leave them stuck with longing or suffering for something that happened. These people need to be more of the present, live in the moment now, build a future, and leave the past behind. Instead of forgetting your present, forget your past and live the now that life gives you. Life always needs a fresh start, and you must always be ready to give it a new direction. Leaving old things aside and replacing them with new ones is essential in anyone's life. There is nothing better than starting something new. It is always good to innovate the things in life and to get even better, and you can change your look, your way of being, and even your ways to show that you have changed completely. You have nothing to do with the past. Don't waste time with the past. Don't waste time brooding over your past and bringing bad memories to the present. Don't spoil your present with past problems. Make the present your opportunity to start your life over and be happy. You only have today to change your life. You never know tomorrow. So don't waste time fixing what you need in your life. You will be better off abandoning the past that bothers you. Since we always have that past that lives inside our hearts, and that at times insists on surfacing and bringing us problems, I'd advise you to abandon that past that hurts you and makes you sad. Create reasons to smile, look for people who will make you happy, and do everything to keep your happiness alive in your heart. Take the time to remake your life, and embrace that new idea that is brooding up inside of you. Since you saw that your choices did not work out, take the time to reflect and be able to redo your life again. Think about what is right for you. Just remember your past to know what you shouldn't do, so your life doesn't go wrong. Redo your life and build new dreams. This has been Born to Win. Discover unlimited possibilities. Written by J. Steele. Narrated by Ronald Hux. Copyright 2020. RWG Publishing. Production copyright RWG Publishing.